giving consumers a financial edge, providing economic tools designed for you to win. With the Empirenomics business guru Al Mills and the credit lady gem dropper herself, Monique Macklin.
Hello, and welcome to Wake Up and Win with Al Mills and Monique Macklin. My name is Monique Macklin, and I'm known in the industry as the Credit Lady.
And hi, my name is Al Mills, aka the Prophetic Financier. Welcome to today's podcast.
Okay, so we have created this space which is designed to enlighten, empower, and edify people to the next level of economic success. On this platform, we do that by having conversations that require you to examine your current financial situation and make changes as needed to get you to the lifestyle that you desire to live by thinking better, banking better, and leveraging better. Now, on today's show, we will be discussing six-figure falsehoods. Six-figure falsehoods. And I guess I wanted to touch on this because I had made a Facebook post yesterday that I mentioned to you. And the topic was, you got to make 100,000 to realize that 100,000 ain't no money.
Ain't no money.
Ain't no money.
Ain't no money.
Ain't no money. And I got a lot of responses on that and shares and things of that nature. So yeah, I wanted to just, I guess, delve into someone said in my comments, when did the goalpost move? Because that used to be the goal, right? So when did the goalpost move? And how can people not survive on $100,000?
Well, let's kind of go back to, let's put a little microscope on that number, right? Everyone is so fixated on, like we like to say, I earned six figures. We need to change the language in which we speak, or the verbiage. Are you a 100K net earner? Gross 100K has nothing to do with netting 100K, right?
Exactly.
So that's the first thing. We got to kind of address that. But overall, if you look at it in the U.S., only about 18% of individual Americans earn 100,000 per year or more, and 34.4% of households make 100K per year. So when we have the standard or conversation, not many people in the U.S. are earning $100,000 individually.
But when you look online, it looks like everybody is balling and flossing and turning up.
Well, here's the thing about the internet, right? It's just like the Army slogan: you can be all you want to be on the internet.
On the internet, right? Not in real life, not in reality.
No, in that virtual metaverse, you can be anything you want to be. You're animated.
This is true. So when it comes to, I know people keep wanting to have this conversation about the middle class. They think 100,000 is middle class, and I know you and I have spoken that there is no middle class. You're either rich or you're poor, and those that are considered in the middle are the working poor.
Yeah, they're the working poor. That's fair to say. The working poor will be more sufficient. I would think so. Actually, it's more like the haves and the have-nots.
Okay.
That's the new language, I would say, have and have-nots. And when we say have and have-not, it's not necessarily who has money and who doesn't have money. It's who has the financial intelligence or the know-how of what to do and how to circulate money, or better yet, how to make your dollars make sense.
Correct.
That's what it really comes down to. But overall, that's like you're saying, we're in a consumer society. So many people have been programmed into buy, that we just consume more than we produce.
This is true. But even in this last, this week, right? Black Friday last week. The numbers were tremendously lower than years past. And people are just not showing up to these, all-out brawls to buy the $100 TVs and things of that nature anymore. Because I guess everyone has a TV. But I guess really what it is that inflation has been really making people really sit back and sit back and say, you know what, that can wait, or I'll see what else comes, or we have enough,
I think
right?
so. I think with the new attention on the Fed constantly raising rates, I think that has been a focus on most people's mind. And I guess now at this point, they're like you said, I don't think is a good time to spend right now. Maybe
Hmm.
need to hold on to the few dollars that we have, or better
Hmm.
yet, we need to preserve that credit balance, that credit availability that we have,
Right.
just in case, blah blah blah
If some
happens.
some has.
That's right.
So
That
yeah.
happens.
you got you got to be mindful, because in this day and age, you just never know. Honestly, even before higher interest rates and things of that nature, I mean, one bad car problem can take people out. To be honest with you, one bad whatever can take people out and knock them, back a few months, and they be trying to fight to catch back up just from one bad thing happening in their life.
Mhm.
So it's, I guess people are now understanding. So I guess if we were to categorize something as a quote unquote middle class income, would that be a 150, $200,000 goal that we're at now a year?
According to those standards, yes, but the average income of a family is about 61,000 on average, a
Of
median
a
average
family?
of a family.
Ew.
Okay, so that would be considered the middle class. Those earning in the mid 60s.
That's not enough to live. Well, it's not enough to
Well,
live.
it depends on where you
Where you
reside in
live.
the country. I mean, there are a
Yeah.
lot better affordable places to live in the U.S. I mean, there's still places in the U.S. that you can purchase a home for 40, 50,000. It still exists, but
This is true.
is it in a metropolitan city where you're going to have the nightlife, the culture, and those things alike? I would beg to differ, but it's
I
still
mean,
available.
I'm thinking the safety. I'm not even thinking about the nightlife. You get a $40,000 home, you might have to sleep in your bathtub to avoid the
Uh,
bullets. But
wow.
the bullets that might be flying through at night. But I guess what it is, people have to understand that if you are earning, or even if you're in a position where you have some savings, or you're putting things in a, say, 401k, your money could be earning you more money if you put it in better places and spaces that are safer, that
Yes.
earn you, that yield you more interest, um, and helps you to move closer to your goal of retirement. Correct?
Yes, that is correct. But unfortunately, because of the hyperinflation, because of the high consumer price index, the cost
Hmm.
of goods and services are a lot more expensive than they were 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, if you live in a high rent or high mortgage rate district, if you will,
Uh
you're
huh.
going to pay a lot more money for housing and food and clothing and all those things. So, yeah,
Mm.
I think families are going to need to really, in my opinion, and of course, we're not giving financial or tax or accounting advice. This
Right.
is just for educational purposes. You really have to begin to create a true plan of action on how to keep up, not with the Joneses anymore, how to keep up with inflation. That should be the target now. Stop keeping
Mm.
up with the Joneses, start keeping up with inflation or the
Inflation.
consumer price index. Yeah, I think if you do that, you'll have a better measure on what the race is, that speed limit that we talk about in the community. Do you
Right.
know what the financial highway speed limit is? If you
Hmm.
don't know, then you're already losing the race.
Correct. Because currently inflation is at what rate? I didn't
Um,
check it today.
Sometimes it's advertised, I think about 6% right now, but it
Hmm.
can go up as much as 7.5 if you really take into the consumer price index.
And last year was 9%.
That is
Uh,
correct.
it was 9% last year. The average 401k yields about 2%, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
2%.
so if you are, let's say, earning at 2%, inflation is at 6%. You're already being victimized by inflation,
Correct.
and people don't understand that. If I don't know what is a gallon of milk, I don't really buy milk. Let's say a gallon of milk is $4 right now.
Mm-hmm.
By the time you get to retirement age, in another, say, if you're 45, you've got 20 years, milk is probably going to be about $7 or $8. So that money that you're saving today is already obsolete in 20
Correct.
years.
And that's very simple. That was a great analogy. That's what we all should be doing, as Americans, or if you will, that we should be looking at not so much how much we earn, but how much buying power we increase or manage. That's really where we should be.
That's where we should be. So I guess what is, since we're not giving financial advice, what is your suggestion that people do who want to position themselves to be in a better financial standing, not just for today, but also start preparing for tomorrow? What are steps that people can do?
Well, I'm going to always say that, first of all, people perish due to the lack of knowledge, right? It's not their earning capacity that's harming them. It's the lack of intelligence on how to manage what you currently have, how to be a good steward over the seed in your hand. So if the best investment or the best course of action that I would recommend would be invest in your mind, in yourself, get in the proximity of individuals who think about these issues on a daily basis, or a community or a group, because where there is like us, because when there's a multitude of counsel, there's safety.
Correct. Exactly.
And so we got to get back to group economics. We got to get back to doing things collectively, in a collective, instead of this individualism, consumerism, if you will. Stay away from the individual consumerism. It's going to hurt you.
That's right. And I will tell people, anytime that I get on the phone with Al, I always have a pen and paper, because he drops gems all day. And you just never know when he's going to drop a good gem, but he is always educating, and always, even when he doesn't even think about doing that. This is what's pouring out of him. But yes, get in proximity with people who are already in that space, who think about this all day and every day, and who are doing what you would like to do or would love to do. One of the things that I have been focusing on mostly is showing people how to now begin to design the lifestyle that they desire to live. And that's not something that people really think about. People say, I want to have more money, but when you get more money, what is the life or lifestyle that you're picturing, you're envisioning?
Right.
And $100,000 right now a year, which was the initial goal for most people, really can't do it for you. So how can we take people to that next level, or even get them to visualize that, yes, you too can have that, or have this lifestyle? You just have to learn how to put some action steps in place that you can be taught through this community.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. Most folks don't realize what they really want. See, there's a difference between a want and a need. So you first have to establish what your needs are, right? Once you know what your needs or requirements to live, that's your fundamental living. Then when you get into abundance mode, you can you can pretty much escalate or enhance that life from the need perspective, right? And so I think that's what should be first, is take a look or inventory on what you really desire in life. How do you really want to live your best life? And then affix a cost to that. Not with the Joneses. Don't compete with the Joneses because your neighbor has a 5,000 square foot house, that you must have a 5,000 square foot house. No. Right? Like there was a study with Harvard. I'm sorry. There was a study that Harvard had did, and it stated that they interviewed a multitude of people, but the question was asked that one person was asked, I'll hire you and pay you $100,000, but all of your co-workers or cohorts in your office is going to make $200,000, or I'll be willing to give you $50,000, and your cohorts or your co-workers will make $25,000. It was staggering to find out that 60% of the individuals chose the $50,000 over the $100,000, so less that their employees or their co-workers earn less than them. So what is that story telling you? That people could get a six-figure salary, but as so long as someone else is making more money than them, they prefer to take less money but be paid more than the average person. That make sense. Make that make sense.
That's crazy. That's great. That's that selfishness that
Hmm.
resides in so many people. That's great. So I'm going to give up the six figures for the five figures just so somebody else isn't making 100,000 more than I am.
Now look
That
at
makes
that, and
that,
that's called the crab in the barrel mentality.
it is. It really is. That's the sad mentality. Because I mean, we all should want everyone to win. Like even within our community, the
Mhm.
goal is to make sure that everyone is advancing and working towards abundance and doing it together. And it's like you said, that solopreneur mentality, that solo mentality is what's really hurting so many of us today. Because people, no major corporation is one employee, right?
That is correct.
They don't get to millions and billions operating on their own. No, they bring people in who are smarter than them.
That's
They
correct.
bring people in who know, who can help make that money and bring not only the money, but provide the services, because you can't do everything. You
That
really
is correct.
can't. So I just wanted to kind of talk on this, the falsehood of getting to the goal of six figures, because I think even in relationships, let's say people are
Hmm.
saying
Hmm.
nowadays, I've seen online,
Hmm.
oh, I'm looking for a man who earns $200,000 a year. That's not impossible, but is it probable? Is the
Is a and there was a app that I provided to you, and what did the statistics say from the Census Bureau or the Labor Bureau statistics? What was your findings when you did your due diligence on the ideal man?
Okay, so Al sent me a link yesterday, and I have it. I may share it online, but he sent me a link on on pretty much your odds of finding the ideal man that you're looking for. And I think it was, when I put it in, I was less than 1%. It was probably point 22 hundredths of a percent to get somebody with the ideal stats that I had selected in the list. And that was it was 22 hundredths of a percent.
Whew.
So yeah, and that person was only earning $100,000.
So in essence, let's make sure we're clear on what you just said. The man
Yeah.
that you're talking about isn't born yet, and his mother is deceased.
Oh, well, damn. Okay.
So that's the probability here. If you want to look at
Okay.
it from that perspective, that's the
It,
probability.
that is true. When you put it that way, it's kind of hard, but okay. But yeah, so the probability, the fixation that people have on, I want a man who's going to take me out to dinner, and you can't take me to Cheesecake Factory, but we need to go and spend $200 and $300. Most men can't do that. Most women can't do that. And if you're going to spend it on probably your credit card bill at this point. But you have there's other things that are more pressing than an expensive meal in this day and age. So we want people to not only be mindful of how they're spending, but also know that even what you're earning, if you learn how to make, manage, and multiply it the right way, you will be able to position yourself for having a great lifestyle today, but also creating something strong and substantial
Hmm.
for retirement, right?
You're right. Again, back to
So,
that whole six figures, right? So let's look at the median priced home in America is $412,000
mm,
throughout all the states within the United States. And let's
mhm,
just look at that for a minute. So the median price is 412. If the
okay,
average person did a FHA mortgage at 3.5% down, they're
mhm,
gonna borrow, give or take, around 397,850 or something around there. At
okay.
an 8% interest rate, their monthly payment just on principal and interest is $2,919,
Ooh,
$2,919, right? Now, according to the standards of banking, right?
mhm.
You They only want you to have a mortgage of no more than 30% of your annual salary. So 29, 19, 28, just on the basic, I haven't put into taxes, insurance, just on that number, look what you'd have to earn.
A lot. Because I mean, they're looking at your debt to income ratio, and
Correct.
most people who, if what you said, the median income is 61,000. So let's say two people in a household earn 61,000. That's $122,000 a year. You still don't
Hmm.
earn enough to to live off. You don't
Do
earn
math.
at that. You don't earn enough to maintain that mortgage. What she said, he didn't even add taxes and insurance. You haven't eaten. You haven't paid your utilities. You haven't paid the house insurance. You haven't put some clothes on your back. Gas in your car note. So yeah,
You would need $116,000 just to afford that $412,000 home.
you would need to be earning to not
$116,000 to afford that at 30%. The target of 30%. That's on a conventional standard.
But that's
most
also
people,
you need to do that on net, right? Because your gross doesn't pay that.
Correct. Now, compare that to just a year and a half ago when interest rates were 3%.
Oh man.
Now we're talking a mortgage payment of $1,677.
Now you can breathe. So
Okay.
yeah, now you can breathe. That same house at $1,600, you can now breathe because that extra 13 can now pay everything else.
So look at that now. In a matter of 18 months, the mortgage payment almost doubled.
Right.
But did people's salary double on their jobs?
No.
So now we see the dilemma, right? This is the dilemma.
This is the dilemma.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, because I do see people still saying, especially in the industry, the mortgage industry, you can still buy. Rates are going to go down. You can refinance later, but you might not make it to a refinance. If you do get in, you might be foreclosed upon by the time we get back to a 3%, if we get back to that.
Well, my mentor, who's a multi-billionaire, once said to me this, and I'll just quote what he said to me, and I've learned that and I've applied it to my life. Mm-hmm. He says that never take advice from money managers because they're geared to convince you of the complexity of the space so that they can manage your money. And then they're going to put your money into things that's going to give them the highest commission, but not necessarily enhance or grow your portfolio. So with that said, in the vein of that, I appreciate all my financial advisors out there, mortgage professionals. I was one of those. But at the end of the day, a loan officer is getting commission for writing a mortgage today.
Correct.
So it doesn't make them no never mind if you survive it or not, make it to the finish line. They want that money in right now from that commission on that loan.
Correct. And if you do survive the 8 whatever percent we're at right now, then you come back to them when the rates go back down to 2, 3, 4%, they get another commission.
Correct. So, on the refi, so a 2-for-1, baby. They get you a 2-for-1.
Exactly.
But there's some good people out there though who would advise. I'll just say this here on our show, right here on our podcast. We don't offer mortgages. We don't sell insurance. Everything that we're doing is from a banker, financier perspective. So we don't have any of those products or services to sell you.
Right.
We're here to uplift your financial consciousness so that you can make more informed decisions and create that lifestyle that you desire. So I just wanted to kind of just put that back, encapsulate what our real purpose and mission is here. We're not throwing people under the bus either. We wouldn't do that. There's a need for all of these things. But I believe that the most educated consumer is the best consumer, the best client that you could have. And that's what we're here to do, is bring education.
Right. We just want to make you aware. But if you are not mortgageable, not mortgage ready at this point, then it would behoove you to get mortgage ready so that when the rates do become more favorable again, you're in a position to take advantage at that time. This may not be a time to buy right now, but it will be a time to buy at some point because, again, inflation was high, so they had to throw a curveball in to try and stop what was happening in the economy. So that is what was happening. But again, get yourself mortgage ready. And if you don't know how to do that, we can also have a conversation about that as well. So yeah, the 6-figure falsehood. I wouldn't even say it's a falsehood. You just have to make more than $100,000. Don't make $100K can be the first goal. Let's work at the next goal on how we can get you to the 150. But more so than that, how can we position you to have money that you earn now working even harder for you so that you don't have to keep working hard for your money?
Right. So in essence, let us help you make your dollars make sense.
Yes, in dollars.
That's it. Okay. That's all we want to do here.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So this has been an interesting conversation. I enjoyed it, Al. I really did.
Always my pleasure. It's always an interesting topic and exchange. And I trust and believe that the listeners out there, if they continue to follow our podcast, they'll get a wealth of knowledge, a lot of gems. Yeah. And if they want to lock arms with someone like ourselves, then we're going to encourage that. Our doors are open and endless to those who are interested in taking that journey, because success is a team sport, and together everyone can achieve more. So I'm glad about speaking about this today.
I am as well. Again, thank you so much for this conversation, and we will talk soon.
Absolutely. Be well.
You too.
Thank you for listening to Wake Up and Win with Al Mills and Monique Macklin. We hope you've been enlightened by today's message. Please subscribe to our podcast and share with your friends on your social media platforms. If you have any questions or comments, follow us on Instagram at Wake Up and Win Show.